All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Kelley from Cooper-Siegel Community Library and head of adult services. And I'm talking with Brad Wulfkuhle, who he does teen programming and you do cataloging. It's called technical services, which is library speak.
I guess my official title now is head of technical services and also teen librarian, which is kind of I mostly do programs for teens.
That's two really big jobs jammed into one.
Yeah. Makes it exciting.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about the library's 3D printer today because I think people have a lot of curiosity about 3D printers and like what they're about, what they are, what they do. And because we have one, we were thinking it might be cool to chat about it. So so we're not going to demo it just because it's a slow moving kind of machine. But we are going to talk about it and show some things that it's made. So so I have a list of interview questions for Brad.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with, what is a 3D printer? Some people have never even heard of it.
Well, basically it's like the short answer, of course, is a printer that prints objects that are 3D. But like the way it works is taking like a material, like in our case, a type of plastic. So you give it a file of an object you made, like in a program, like a CAD program or something like that. And you can print it and it comes out as a little model, sort of like this guy here. Oops.
Okay.
So
he's cool.
It takes the plastic, melts it down, and then it follows a sort of pattern to like build up the object that you're making.
I feel like in some ways, and maybe you can correct me if this is wrong, it's kind of like an automatic sewing machine, but it does patterns like three-dimensionally. Because I feel like there's sewing machines that you can have that have built-in patterns that can like do it themselves. So I feel like it takes the plastic and it builds something through, like you said, through some kind of program that you use.
Like kind of the program thing is separate. So it's like you're designing something online, like a digital object. If you save it in the right file, the printer can then print that out as a 3D model.
So in order to like make something, you'd have to use the software. You're like, I want to make, and then you'd have to do it through that software.
Well, if you're designing something from scratch, yes. I mean, there's like a lot of CAD programs. We have a few available for free on our computers in the a CAD program. There's a few free ones online. One that I use is called Tinkercad. That's really like simple. So that's why I use it. It's easy to kind of just mess around and make things on your own. There's also a couple sites out there where people make things and put them up for you to use for free.
Okay.
The one that I really like is called Thingiverse. And I mean, you can just go there and search for stuff and like any kind of weird thing that you might want to try to make, or anything that's like, I mean, sort of practical. I know that we've had like trophies for little like prizes and programs we've had here. And I've just found like one on Tinkercad and like printed it out, and it was pretty cool. So
that's cool.
Or, I mean, I'm sorry, Thingiverse. So it depends. Like you don't have to be able to design something on your own to print it. Like there's things out there that you can print.
So if you're like, I just need, I can't even think of anything, like a small vase or something, like you could find that on Thingiverse.
So I mean, there's things on there from like ashtrays, like pen, like you want a pen holder, like a pencil thing, like all that kind of stuff.
But probably, at least for our 3D printer, relatively small thing.
Here, like while we're talking about, let me show you, I'm going to share my screen and show you a picture of the printer. That might help with, let's see. Okay, hold on one second.
Sure. I'm excited to see it.
Oops.
To share it.
Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. Can you see that?
I don't see, I just see like your files.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me unshare this and try again.
All right.
1 second.
Hold, please.
I
think it'll be so cool for people to see it, just because, you think of a 3D printer. I have no idea people have no idea what it would look like. Right.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
Okay, let's try this. You see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is it from afar. Like, so see this little thing in the middle inside the window there?
Yeah.
That's called the build plate. It says Flash Forge on the front
Okay.
there. So that's basically the size, like the width and length of something you can build.
Okay, so that determines the size. Yeah.
Yes, but it also, you can build it upwards. So it'll like build things. It'll like build it up, if you get what I'm saying. So the build
like
plate,
lays the plastic like this, and then it builds it up like, yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And so if we were printing something, the build plate would start at the very top and move down as it got taller. So you can basically use the entire like height of that inside part to build something too.
Okay.
But yeah, because this is a smaller one, it has to be something that fits on those kind of things.
Sure.
And then the stuff that's up at the top here, that's like the plastic filament that we use.
Okay.
So let's see if I can show you like a picture of the inside.
It kind of looks like a fancy microwave.
Yeah. Now, like some of them, it depends on some of them are open, which I wasn't sure like what, like I had heard people before we bought this like complain about fumes or something. So I wanted something that was more enclosed, but as they like make the plastics better, and I think we'll probably talk about that later, like the smell thing isn't really an issue.
That's
so
good.
Like they're more open now, which is kind of cool. They look less boxy.
Yeah, and then you can really see what's happening, I guess, as it's being made.
Right. Yeah. Let me go ahead and share this one. Sorry.
Yeah, we've had it. The library's had ours for what, almost 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's the inside. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a better picture of the build plate, and you can see how it'll move up and down. And now at the top thing here, this is called the extruder. So basically the plastic goes in here, like those things you saw at the top, and it melts it down, and then it kind of like prints it out in a pattern.
Okay.
To build the object. But the cool thing about it is it like cools and dries really fast. So as it's building, it sort of makes it solid right away. So that's how it's able to build up like an object in 3D without it, sort of melting away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like on the inside.
Yeah.
But then again, if it was printing, it would be right up against this thing, the build plate. So it's really, you wouldn't really be able to see anything at that point. So
it would be like really close to what it's.
Yeah, it has to be really close to the thing, and then it sort of builds.
Okay, so that is a very cool thing, but like what would anyone ever build with it? Like what kinds of things are, you using it for? What kinds of things are patrons using it for?
Okay, well, we've basically, we use it for like fun programs. Like I've done ones where teens kind of used the Tinkercad program I talked about before to like kind of build their own objects, and we'd print them out to see if like what they designed would work, or so like we did like make your own little bookmarks, which they took them all, so I don't have an example of those.
Well, that's good.
But I'm doing a lot of like take and makes for teens and young like tweens to take home and make something. So we did this like ornament thing. I don't know if you can.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah.
I designed that. So then they're gonna paint this as sort of like.
Oh, that's great. That's like our anniversary.
Yeah, our 10-year anniversary thing. So
okay.
Then I'm hoping they share pictures of it and we can share it on social media.
Yeah.
So
did you design that? Obviously that was not.
I did this in Tinkercad real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Like you can do basic shapes they have in there for you. So it's easy to make little things like this. What patrons have made has been like a range of things. We had one person that wanted to make like a piece like the Han Solo like belt buckle holster thing for a Halloween costume. So that's one thing that they found the file and sent it to me, and then we printed it. We also had another person who had a vacuum that they liked, and one of the plastic wheels broke.
Okay.
So they brought that in, and we like they like kind of measured it, and we sort of just made a wheel that would in Tinkercad that would print out 3D, and it worked actually.
No way.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, those are. We had another person that like lost a puzzle piece, and he like scanned a puzzle piece that was similar, and we made one on the 3D printer that, it took us a while.
Yeah.
Like the thickness and everything, but finally we got one that worked. It was real small.
Yeah.
But that was another pretty cool one. But
I mean, for anyone watching, those are very, to me, even very unusual library services.
Yeah.
Like, that's really
Yeah.
different.
For something like we have, it's going to be like small, fun, like little models that you can paint, or like, you know, little parts.
Yeah.
You know, more industrial ones. I mean, that's originally, from what I've learned, like manufacturing or whatever, we use 3D printers to make like a part mock-up to see if it would work before actually like making the actual part.
Okay.
So that's kind of like where 3D printing started. And now it's like, I mean, there's fancy ones that print like metal, they print like all kinds of stuff. So
I
it's
feel like
really
I've read somewhere that
Yeah.
they can print like prosthetics.
Yeah. That's like gonna be like a thing. It's like, like
Yeah.
limbs and things like that. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like the implications are pretty huge for the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
eventually, like, I mean, you could print like that kind of stuff at your own house, I guess. I don't
Wow.
know. Like, I mean, of course,
And
that's
like
far in the future.
industrial ones obviously are really big to make
Yeah.
big things.
Yeah, and they need, because I mean, of course, like I showed you the picture, there's not a super amount of room in there. Now you can do things in parts, like the Halloween costume we did in parts, and then they sort of like glued it and put it together on their own, the patrons. So, I mean, that is something like, if it's, you know, we can do things in parts too. So it's not impossible. It's just a little bit more intense, like labor intensive, I guess, would be you have to actually put it together when we're done. So.
But patrons, like if they had an idea or they needed something, they can get in touch with you and then you work with them to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, mostly people, I mean, I talk to them on the phone, they can call me, but they'll have to email me the file, especially nowadays. Or, you know, I mean, I guess if we're reopened, they can bring in like a flash drive with the file, but the easiest thing is just to email it. And then, you know, we can see if it'll work or not.
And if they're not that far along and they have just an idea, like you can kind of help them get to where they need to go to get the file or make the pattern.
Yeah, like with like the puzzle piece one was sort of an example of that. Like we sort of just like tried different things before we like kind of got it to work. So, you know, I would send them, be like, hey, I tried to make this in Tinkercad. Do you think this worked? And it'll be like, yes or no. Like it was just a lot of emailing back and forth. And then we just, because the piece was small, it didn't really take much to print it. So like we just tried a bunch of different versions till we got like the one that worked for him. So yeah, like we can sort of like try to figure out, I mean, the thing is like, I'm not an expert on the design part. So that's sort of something we can work together and just see if we can do it. It's
you're
actually
kind of learning.
It's been kind of fun to try.
Yeah. And it does, there is a small cost to it because it's materials.
It's by here, like I can also share my screen again real quick. If you
want. It's like by the amount of material, right, that you need.
So this is this here is like the little build box. This is the virtual. So you're looking at like the build plate virtually right now. So this is kind of the software that talks to the printer. So we would load any file. Let's see if I have one here. Here's one of the. So you're kind of like loading this little file in here. So then you can move it around and like shrink it and all that kind of stuff. But if you would print it, like we'll just look at this real quick and see like
what it would take.
It's not actually printing. It's just at this point you have to like send it to the printer after you do this, but it'll tell you.
Slicing model. It's so cool.
They call it slicing when it's so up here, like, well, let me, so you see the estimated material is like 13.14 meters. So we charge like 50 cents per meter.
So that'd be like $6.50 or something.
Which really isn't too bad.
No.
And
I see
price.
It's like
but that's how we determine that's just basically the amount of plastic that you're using. And like those rolls that I showed before, like at the back of the printer there, they're about $20 for one of those. And they last for a really long time if you're not using it every day.
And then I see it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes to print it.
Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks of the 3D printer is and especially like more basic ones like we have, it does take a while for things to print. So you have to take that into consideration if you want to print something here, that it's going to take a few days. I mean, if you're doing, I mean, it depends. Like, you're probably not going to wait for like 3 hours while something prints. So you have to pick it up
you'd come back.
Something like that. But yeah, that is the one drawback of it. But
I imagine like the really big ones, I mean, they probably print faster, but they're probably still also not super quick, because it's
I
a
mean, as
big
far as I know,
process.
yeah, that is like one of the drawbacks all the way. I mean, the technology, I guess, is pretty new as far
Yeah,
as things go. So yeah, it does take a little bit. And the more like intricate something is,
yeah,
the longer it's going to take.
right.
So, and then there's different, like, I mean, you can also do like a lesser quality, like kind of like a regular printer. Like if you want something that's like, you have like the ideal quality of the print, like the color print, or
Right.
you can do like a quicker one. That's up to you. But I mean, we usually just do like the standard one. That seems to
Yeah,
work just fine. So,
yeah. Like less detail
but
or
the like more
something. Yeah.
detailed, the better like quality you want it, the longer it takes.
Okay, so tell everyone about about the material that you use. Like, is it? I mean, you said it's plastic, and people
Mhm.
have a lot of concerns about plastic right now, and
Yeah.
so like,
Um,
what is it?
so the plastic that this printer uses is called PLA. It's like an organic based plastic that's
Okay.
recyclable and non-toxic,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
which is good for schools and like libraries, things like that. Which is why
Yeah,
this is one of the reasons we got this kind of printer.
yeah.
There's a bunch of other plastics. The one that like for these kind of printers that we have, another one is called ABS, and that is sort of a more like that has more of the smell when it's printing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of like the chemically based plastic that
Right.
people are kind of worried about. So
Yeah.
that's why we thought it was a good choice to go with this. Some printers will print both. Ours just does PLA, which is just fine for what we're doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great decision. I feel like because it was like, it's thinking about sustainability and not
Right,
adding to this massive plastics that we have going around. And
right. And the thing
yeah.
is too, like sometimes the prints don't come out like how you want. So like
Hmm.
at least we can recycle stuff that we don't use.
Right. Like you can have a practice one and you can just toss it. It's
Yeah,
not totally wasted. Yeah.
yeah. And some of the programs I'm doing with teens, like we're just making stuff, and
Yeah.
I mean, so we're kind of like, oh well, this didn't work, or
Right.
there's this another thing with the printer. It's like when you're building something up like vertically, you have to add support. Sometimes they do that
Okay.
automatically. They build like the printer will build little plastic supports first, so
So it
like it can,
stands. Yeah.
yeah. So that, I mean, and those break off and get recycled. So that's
Yeah.
also another thing that you're not really like just throwing plastic away.
Sure. That's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
um
like I remember seeing like a cool CSCL keychain going around
oh yeah,
like a
I
year or
did
two
make
ago, and that was cool.
that was the thing I made originally. Like that was one of the
Yeah.
first things I made on it. I don't think
Yeah.
I used to have it, but I think I gave it to someone.
You probably gave it to us. I think we have it in our department.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
guys
and
use it, right? Okay.
it's cool. It's like a, rectangular thing and it says CSCL, like it's kind of open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's just the cool thing. I mean, when you were showing the ornament, the anniversary ornament, I thought that'd be such a cool thing to make a Christmas ornament for someone.
Yeah.
Like you can personalize it and
That's
it's something you
actually
made.
another thing that I made for a patron. Their friend was a big fan of like mazes, and we made like a maze type ornament. So
Oh,
it printed out the
cool.
maze like on a round, sort of like what I showed you before. So that was pretty cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's one thing you can do. Like I said, you can download those for free
Hmm.
and just print an ornament, or you can try to make your own.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think, I mean, is this something like, would you say like an average person, like something that would be kind of cool or smart to buy? Like, how expensive are they like for just regular people?
they've come down a lot. I think you can get like a home one. One of my friends actually got one for Christmas. It was like $200.
That's not bad.
Um,
Yeah.
no, I mean compared to what they were like, I know like some other libraries bought them years, when they first came out, like
Yeah.
the smaller models, and they were like close to $3,000. The one
I
we paid
remember.
for,
Yeah.
the
We
one
were
we have
talking
it.
about them back in 2011 and 2012.
Yeah, they were much
Um,
more expensive
yeah, and
then.
they were huge investments for libraries, and they were like, "Ooh, should we do this? Like, it's pretty early, and it's exciting, but yeah, $3,000 is a lot of money, so that's a big difference."
Yeah, and the one we have was like $600,
Hmm.
which at the time was pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So, but you can get like a lot. There's a lot of different models now.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it is something you can get at home. I guess it just depends on like what you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're someone who's like crafty, or like likes to build things, you know, from scratch, then it's probably a cool thing. You could build parts with it. You could try out designs that you want to do.
Yeah.
My friend builds little models like Star Wars things
Mm-hmm.
and paints them. So that's kind of like what he likes about it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's something that's definitely more and more accessible for just like regular people at home.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel like it's like if you're just a regular person, probably doesn't make sense maybe to have one, but more and more libraries are getting them. So if you want to
right.
mess around with them, like I know Mount Lebanon has one, we have one.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's others. Those are just the two that I know, but
Yeah.
like that's a cool service so that people don't have to make that really big investment. They can see,
Right.
oh, this would really work for my business, and then I'll buy one, right? It's like a little try
Right.
and see. Yeah. I feel like people could make jewelry with them.
Oh yeah. People do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know on Etsy you can buy like 3D printed jewelry, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like really intricate, cool stuff. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
know. But then but like that kind of stuff, like for the average person, like you could get one and like find some stuff and print it with no
Mm-hmm.
problem. It's kind of easy to figure out on your own. The
Yeah.
design part and like those CAD programs is kind of like the really hard part.
Yeah.
Like of designing these things and making sure it'll print correctly. That is
Right.
kind of like the part that's really, so I mean, like if you're interested in one and you want to just get one and mess around with it for a while till
Yeah.
you learn, it's definitely something you can build things with for sure.
Right. It sounds
It's
so interesting. I mean, I just love that we have one and that people are allowed to kind of, or, invited to come and experience it and experiment with it. It's just,
yeah.
for free, really almost free. But
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing a program with it, like, I mean, like the team ones, we never charge them anything for printing stuff. Like,
right, because it's part of the.
like I said, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say because it's part of the program for teens. Yeah.
Right, and the filament stuff is very like the way we use it. I mean, it lasts for a really long time. I mean, some of those rolls I've had for like almost 2 years now,
Yeah.
and like they're barely used because there's different colors. Like people.
Right.
Like it doesn't really use as much as you think. So it's for $20, that's going to last you a long time. So
Right.
it's really not, we try to charge not that much for it.
Do those come in like all different kinds of colors? Like those look like all the primary colors. Like what if someone's like, I want something pink and army green or.
They do have those colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have like, the cool thing about the PLA stuff is it's really easy to paint.
Okay.
So like acrylic paint or like spray paint, like model paint, that kind of stuff, you can paint it pretty much anything.
So that's a real option. So if you don't want to buy a whole spool, you can just be like, oh, I'll paint that army green then, or whatever. Yeah.
But it seems like every year there's more and more colors. Like we even have a glow in the dark roll where it kind of looks like white, but it'll glow in the dark, like when you build it, which is pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think I know this is a weird question. What do you think the future of 3D printing is? Like, do you see like people building houses?
Yeah, I mean, I've read about people like that's a new thing, like people 3D printing houses. Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's going to be like, I mean, you're going to need like a large printer and a lot of money
we're not going to use the library one for that.
But I mean, if it gets good enough, you could probably buy your own 3D printed house at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, like you talked about before, like limbs, like that kind of
prosthetics,
thing, like
right?
Prosthetics, yeah. Thank you. I would say like even, I mean, like maybe like car parts, that kind of thing in the future.
Yeah.
I'd like, you go somewhere and they're like, oh, we don't have this. We have to.
And they can just make it. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that could really affect like, I don't want to say international trade, but you think like, okay, you have a car part, it has to be shipped, from China or something. And it's, it takes a while. And I mean, maybe that's the future. I think it's interesting. These kind of technologies, you don't really know the possibilities.
Right.
Like we couldn't have, I couldn't have envisioned iPhones when we talked about cell phones.
True.
Like early cell phones, like they were those huge, boxy things. No one would imagine it's like now our personal computer. So.
Right. And I think like, I mean, of course, like now they have ones that like print metal and those kind of things. And I'm sure I'm sure there's a lot of like cool stuff made with those. Like, but yeah, I think it's kind of, I mean, there's not, the thing that really holds back, like with something with us is the kind of material, like it's not that strong. You can make something that's like, I mean, it's strong for like the normal person, but you can't make anything that's going to like have a lot of stress on it.
Yeah.
But like,
but it's so cool for us to be part of this, like, like kind of burgeoning technology, like, and that people can experience it and learn more about it here. It's pretty cool.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, if you can make kind of your own stuff online, but you don't have the money, or you don't want, I mean, you can make stuff for free. It's like you want somewhere to print it, and you can print it here. So
yeah, it's so cool. So they just get in touch with you. I think like there's some information on our website about it.
My email is, I don't like, it's Wulfkuhle B, so it's WULFKUHLEB at einetwork.net. You can also call me and we can talk about it on the phone. It's 412-828-9520 is the library number. My extension is 5014. So
that's how to do
feel
it.
free to call me if you want, if you have some more questions about it, or the best way to do it is email me, because you could just email me a file and we could figure out if it'll work. That's probably like, because
I
eventually
imagine some of that has like,
anyway.
It's like kind of slowed down because of COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, well, for a while, like I was bringing it upstairs at your desk for like an hour or two a week, and people were interested, and then that's how I got like people to come with me with projects that they had.
Hopefully we'll get back to that soon, because I think it was cool to just have it here. People are like, what is that? Like it doesn't look like anything they've ever seen, and it has all those spools on it, like I think people were just curious, and that was to see it.
Yeah, and when we open up again for in-person programs, I'm sure I'll have some more programs with it. I mean, we were planning on doing like an in-person one for adults before everything happened. So
right. So hopefully we can still
I'm
do
sure
that
in the future that'll happen. But but it's still something I can do, and you could just come pick up.
Right.
It's still possible if you're interested.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks. This was great. I mean, I work here and I know you and work with you, and I still didn't know all of this. So this was awesome.
Yeah, and like the cool thing is like I'm learning as I go too. So if you have something that's like interesting, like I'm interested in trying to figure it out with you, because that helps me learn more. So we might have to do it together, but it'll be a learning thing for both.
Yeah, and you've already done that. You've really learned a lot of stuff from the people who've already come. So, well, thanks so much and enjoy, and definitely get in touch with us to use our 3D printer.
Yeah, thanks, and let me know if you want to print something.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.